Many Australians were shocked by images of young detainees being tear-gassed and physically restrained at the Dondale Juvenile Centre in the Northern Territory. The very next day, the Prime Minister announced a royal commission into the Territory's youth detention system. One person from whom we've never heard is the man who filmed that confronting footage. He was an officer who'd been warning for years that understaffing, poor training and a lack of recreation and rehabilitation programs would bring Dondale to crisis point. Tonight, he speaks exclusively to 7:30. This report from Jane Barden contains language that some viewers may find confronting.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, mate, I don't mind how much chemicals you use.
I don't believe tear gas should have been used.
Ian Johns was filming when 6 teenagers were tear-gassed in Dondale's isolation cells in August 2014.
I still can't understand why, because we had the tactical response group from the big prison, from the prison inn, and I thought they might have went in through the door, bashed the door and got in.
The veteran youth justice officer regrets he didn't push harder to be allowed to talk the boy down.
Could have tried though, and there's a couple others that could have tried as well. I think sort of weren't given the opportunity.
What was that like to witness?
Oh, not very nice. You don't want to see any kids, you know, with getting their eyes washed out. Yeah, some of them told me in their words they thought they were going to die.
Ian Johns knew the boys had been in isolation for days after an escape from Dondale.
None of us that I know that worked, they did not want any kids in for a long period of isolation. I'm afraid that wasn't our decision. It was upper management's decision. Well, we all think it's ridiculous.
I know that a lot of people have painted this as these kids behave because of the facilities and the way that the management and the way they were treated. But we responded to that behaviour, you know, and whether it was right or wrong, we were responding to that destructive and disruptive behaviour time and time again.
I think the most important thing with dealing with any of the kids or young people is have the communications skills, care about the kids and understand the kids, because most of these kids we have are from dysfunctional families.
Ian Johns has told the Royal Commission he was worn down by upper management, ignoring advice that building rapport was the best way to manage detainees.
At the time, I know that there was a lot of trouble happening, so it seemed to be that my impression that the muscle was used, and I don't think muscle helps much at all.
This so-called muscle was in response to a dramatic increase in the number of detainees, many of them with drug and mental health problems. Staff behaviour deteriorated.
Who wants to suck my dick? Which one of you boys want to suck my dick? Yeah. Eat that shit.
If I had any knowledge or any inkling that was the sort of behaviour that would have went on, I wouldn't have accepted it.
My own opinion, they didn't have a lot of experience with young people in detention. In fact, I'm pretty sure they haven't. And there's people that have been there for years, and I'm one of them, there's a few others. You know, why didn't they speak to us? We were sort of left out of the loop because basically they knew better, I suppose.
For a system to work, you need more than, and I'll say just with due respect, appropriate infrastructure. You need staff who are trained, competent and experienced to be able to operate within and outside of that infrastructure and to operate appropriately with their client group.
Sally Cohen warned against meeting the violent behaviour of the detainees with a more violent response. But evidence presented to the Royal Commission showed her warnings weren't acted on. The corrections boss blamed the direction coming from the minister.
Various ministers listen to people in the community, and you've got that very strong punitive approach in the community, and that's, I think, most politicians live in a 4-year cycle, and you know, I think by the year 2 they're thinking about being re-elected again.
In 2015, the Commissioner, Ken Middlebrook, asked the government for tougher youth detention management tools, including 2 restraint chairs for Dondale, which were to be called safety chairs.
Yes, the restraint chair is not a good thing, but to prevent somebody from self-harming for a period of time till they settle down, it's all we really had.
Entrance to the Dondale Centre, and they get driven straight into the door.
Toughening the regime didn't work. Escapes and violence increased. Some staff were sacked or resigned. Others were left dismayed.
We were sort of tarred with the same brush, you know, and some of the staff were getting very irate phone calls. Stuff like this is happening, threats.
When the Labour government was elected last year, it banned restraint chairs, recruited more staff and started more programmes. But some programme providers believe change is too slow.
It really worries me that we've still got so many kids in the high security unit and many children being held in isolation. Completely unacceptable.
We've had some young people at risk, so that for various reasons they're a risk to themselves or others, and so they will be put at risk in a room away from other young people. It's certainly not isolation, they still engage in education activities.
In December, a detainee was hospitalised after this altercation. It's not isolated.
Yeah, there would be incidents of young people being restrained, taken out of their cells. We've had a number of young people attempt harm, commit assaults, spit at youth justice officers.
As Ian Johns heads to work, he's determined to be one agent of positive change.
With the commission happening, I really believe that there will be change, and hopefully a lot of people I know are very negative about it. I'm pretty positive that the commissions will do. There will be something in that report that will the government will look at and make changes, and quickly, because we don't want any more band-aid treatment, you know.